2, 1. Welcome everybody back to another retro Fireplace review. Today we're going to be looking at Ninja Gaiden. I didn't have this game as a kid. I had a Nintendo, but I didn't have that too many games. But recently I went to a pawn shop and I found a bunch of games. Most of them did work. They're kind of gross, but I got them really cheap, so I can't really complain about that. And I've always wanted to play Ninja Gaiden because I heard it's one of the best games on the NES, and let's dive in and see if it is. Boop, boop, boop. Alright, let's dive right into this game. Story presentation. For presentation on a Nintendo game, to even have some is fantastic. And this game does one of the best, with cutscenes in between levels that are actually very interesting. Not very long or anything, but the art style they make is very cool. You're like, oh, I want to know about my dad, and I want to know about these demons, and there's this good and light thing. It's cool. You don't see that in a Nintendo game. It's fantastic to see. The story is basically, I said that you don't know who your dad is, you gotta go save him, and you find out all this stuff about demons come back to Earth, and there's like a light stone and a dark stone, and you have to stop it all. And you're not voiceless, you know. Your Ryu actually talks, but says like what after every cutscene. But it's cool, it's funny, and it's fantastic. So there's that. Let's take a quick look at the graphics. Very good. Big sprite work, which is fantastic. Then his Ryu's run animation is fantastic with his sword swipes. It's pretty fluent and everything. The enemy design is very good. It's pretty varied throughout. And the bosses are all unique looking and big sprites. And as you get further in the game, the sprites get bigger. And there's never slowdown or, well, yeah, there's barely any slowdown. The game just looks fantastic. The level differences are huge for a game like this, because Nintendo's very limited. Sometimes you see like you go up a level because, you know, games can go up easier than they can go right because of memory. So anyway, that game's not, this game does a good job, but you know, there's just different stages and all, and you go from snow to jungle to like waters level to cities to like climbing a mountain. It's really cool. On to sound. Sound in this game is another very strong point in this game. The slashing, exploding sounds when you hit enemies good. It's just, the sound effects are great. The music of the boss battles is really cool. It's really, well, not really like that, but it's very, you know, it's when you hear the music, you're like, oh, come on, boss, don't kill me, please don't kill me. And it's so exciting and fun. There's not much to say about it. There's some good tracks, and it's just, it adds to the game. It's another A+ to it. So good graphics and good sound. Let's see how the gameplay looks. Gameplay is where this game falls off from being a near perfect Nintendo game. I'm not saying it's bad at all. It's very challenging and very, very challenging and rewarding. But there's some hiccups that really hurt the game, and I feel like they weren't supposed to be in the game. So let's dive pretty deep into this section so we could figure it out. So the game's very hard. You do have a life meter that's, you know, it lets you take a few hits unless you're getting hit by birds, which you think would hurt less than guys with machine guns, but they actually hurt more than most enemies in the game, which is kind of annoying. But even that, it still gives you a few hits. And boss-wise, they're very different. The first few bosses are very easy. Can't really mess up, but it teaches you how to, like, that they have more health and stuff, and there's patterns to them that you have to realize. They get hard as you go on. So let me, I'm going to say about the game, and then I'll tell you about the bad parts in a minute. So as you go through the game, levels seem almost impossible. You're like, how do I get through this? And you die. Frustrated. You'll probably be able to beat the first, second level. Even the second level will give you some challenge if you're new to the game. But once you get third, you'll be like, this is impossible. You'll get so frustrated that you just want to, I had to just turn it off and be like, whoa, that game's hard. But, you know, then I'm like, oh, I want to go back to it. I want to beat this game that's really, really hard and say that I did it. So you turn it on, you play it again, and then you're like, whoa, I flew through the first, second level. And then you're like, I'm getting a lot further than the third level. And then you reach the boss, and he's really hard, and you can't do it. So you might have another turn-off angry session, but you want to come back, and then this time you fly through it, you beat the boss, and you're like, I'm still at half health. So that's how the game works. The more you play it seems impossible, but the next time you do it, your skills are honed, that you get much further. Because until like the 5th level, like I can do it without dying, and I wasn't good at this game first. I could not even beat the 2nd level when I first played, but there's a lot of skill involved, so that is really cool about this game. But it's really hard. If you don't want a hard game that's gonna like make you freak out and turn the game off, avoid the game. It's extremely hard. But there's a few kind of funky things about it that I don't think were intended to be in the game, such as some of the items don't work because you have these Shimpo moves or something. You have these special moves, and you get through the game, and you get this stuff that refills your Shimpo power. That like a move will take 5 to 10, depending on the special move, like a fire attack that goes up, or like when you jump and attack, you do a spin, which is my favorite. It's really strong, but it takes a lot of power. So you get these dots that fill it up, either 5 or 10. And then there's these jars, blue jars and red jars. What do? I have no idea. Maybe points, but I wasn't really paying attention. The levels are timed that are, you never really need the time. But it doesn't refill the time or anything, and then I'm just so confused. What do? And then I got to one of the levels, I think it's level 4, that every time I got this red jar, it would refill my health. So I don't know if they were intended that they would refill your health or something, but they just didn't work. I am confused, because if they gave you health, it would actually make the game a lot easier. I don't think it would make it easy, but having extra health would help, because most of the time when you die is falling off the hole. So I'm confused about that. And another thing is, when enemies go off screen, they reset or like just disappear if you get them off enough, which helps you in the game, but I don't know if it was intended. But sometimes it's really helpful to get on these really difficult jumps towards the end, because they're just throwing stuff and it's almost impossible to jump and hit them perfectly. So if you sneak a little bit off screen, they disappear. But another thing that I don't think it was intended, I think it's just they were Temco was new to making this kind of game, and they're just having some troubles. Because the last part, the most worst part, is some of the bosses. So how the game works, there's sections like stage 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. If you get a game over in 2, 3, you go back to the beginning of 2, 3, and you have your 3 lives back, which is cool, because the game's hard, and it should be like that. But if you go to the boss, some of the boss, I'm not sure if it works every time, and you die at the boss, you go back to 3, 1, not 3, 3. Why? It makes no sense. And especially on the last boss, who's really hard, like extremely hard, you go to 6, 4 or whatever it is, you fight the boss, you go back to 6, 1, which is an extremely hard level, you don't want to do it again. And this almost kills the game from not beating it, because you don't want to do that hard level again, because you barely did it the first time. So that really, really hurts the game. So that's the gameplay. So does it hold up today? Yeah, it does. The graphics are still good. They're not bad to look at. The sound is great. The challenge, if you really want a hard game that you don't really see much today in games, especially, like Main Street games, it's really fun. You should go for it. And it's on like eShop. It's on your 3DS that you can get for $5. It's definitely worth it. Is it worth finishing? I wouldn't say so. And I'm a finishing game. I'm not 100% completionist, but I like to finish games. I like to beat it. But I would say just play it as much as you can and feel rewarded if you can get to the 5th or 6th level. But beating the game is just too difficult and kind of cheap. So yeah, so play it, I guess, which is strange for me to say because I like to finish games. So that's it. Final thoughts is, if they could fix those few bugs, the game would have been almost a masterpiece, but now it's just a really good game. I have to reward it for, the great cutscenes that you didn't see in the game. It was very ambitious at the time. You felt like you wanted this character to win, and you wanted to find out more about the story, which you didn't really do much in Nintendo games, maybe some of the RPGs, but even the first Final Fantasy, the story was like, go get the crystals, whatever. Wasn't that exciting? It was very cool. Not a very long game, but it'll take you long to beat. Which kind of sounds strange, but if you fly through the game, it's like a half an hour game, but if you're new to it and keep trying, it's going to take you some hours, which is pretty cool. It had to give you some worth to the game because they were pretty expensive back in the day. So that's it, my review. Final score, an 8, maybe an 8.5, just because of how much good stuff, but those really downfalls really do hurt it, and I feel like they weren't intended. If they were intended, maybe, but they just seemed kind of out of place. So that's my score. I hope you liked the review. Remember to like and subscribe, like always. Comment, tell your friends, because subscribers are huge. You might not understand, but you know, those are the first people to see my reviews and stuff. So yeah, subscribing helps. I hope you liked it. I try to go pretty deep into the games and look at them, and I hope I told you enough about the game. If I haven't told you much about the mechanics and stuff, how the game works, tell me I can go deeper. If not, if this is good, let me know. So until next time, I'll see you guys later.